different opinions, that's the worrisome part. If it's only different opinions, then that can be dealt with if you're Krishna conscious. But to the degree there is some material element, subtle or gross, that intervenes in the picture, then we have some difficulty there. So therefore I said, to the degree that we are Krishna conscious and free from material contamination, to that degree the relationships will be more loving, more genuinely on the spiritual platform. Right? So sometimes this factor does have a role to play, and sometimes not. Both will be very sincere, and both will not have any subtle motivation even. But then that is just to be taken as something spiritual. But on our part, if each of us is very sincere to see that we have no other motivation, then automatically situations become simplified. It's much easier to handle. Okay? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Maharaj, for reminding me about the essence of Latin brahmacharya. I'll try to ask a question. Sorry if I put it in a long way. Whatever we try, sometimes conflicting situations still occur, and it's advised to get an advice from the third party for senior devotee to help you and resolve the situation. And recently I was listening to a class in our Soka temple, and Thomas Shlokadas, he was referring to Prabhupada's pastimes, saying that at dead times two persons will come and ask Prabhupada to resolve the situation. However, nowadays the way it happens that a person just anonymously claims to be senior devotee, and then we discuss it during the brahmacharya meeting without understanding who actually was basically or disappointed about the situation. So what's really the proper way of dealing with these conflicts or problematic situations?
There is a disagreement or some problem, then should we call the parties concerned together, or should we just deal with it without calling all the parties involved? Right? That's the question?
Yes.
Yes? Well, it really depends. It's not an easy question like that. It's such a general question. It's not really possible to answer. In this presentation, I'm trying to give general principles based on which, we can try to create that loving mood and trusting mood amongst the brahmacharis in the ashram. In specific cases, everything depends. Krishna will give us good intelligence. If we are chanting our rounds nicely, and if we are hearing, chanting, everything, we are sincere, Krishna will give us the intelligence. And where necessary, we can take some advice from senior devotees about how to proceed in the matter. So I wouldn't like to make a general statement or general answer on that, because each situation is different. And it's very complex. Relationships, human nature, very complex. This is the major problem in the world today, human nature. Everyone is so different, so unique. Each one has its own particular leanings. So it's very, very difficult. Unless we are really Krishna conscious, it's hard to take everything in stride. So whatever be the problem, the solution is Krishna consciousness. And if that is our goal, one of the problems in addressing conflicts is that people insist that they are right and they want to be established as being right. That is a problem sometimes. However, from a higher perspective, we will see that it's not a question of being right or wrong that's important, but it's a question of what's helpful for Krishna consciousness. That is the real bottom line. So it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong, or what's going to be helpful for my Krishna consciousness and the other agree on guideline. Even amongst the brahmacharis, when there are disagreements, everyone should keep that principle in mind. It doesn't matter even if I'm right. But just if I'm proved right, because I insist that I was right and I have to be proved right, it may only make my heart harder. It may perhaps not be so easy to be humble in such a situation the next time around. So there's no need for us to insist that I'm right and he's wrong, even if it's a fact, from an everyday point of view. One final question, anybody? Yes, Abhilandan Ishwar. I can never forget his name. Abhilandan Ishwar. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Just after you were talking about, the verse by Narada Muni, Guru Hitan first, and just before you summarized with those 3 points, you mentioned something which, if applied, the atmosphere in the ashram will be transformed. I can't remember what you were referring to exactly. Would you be able to repeat?
Well, all these principles that I mentioned, basically, Narad Muni mentions all the qualities of a brahmachari, right? Brahmachari Gurukule Vasan stays in the ashram, Danta, he is controlling his senses, or at least seriously endeavoring to control his senses. Guru Hitam, he is striving only to please the spiritual master. That's his only goal. He has no separate interest or ambition. Acharan Dasavat Nichaha. His behavior is like that of a surrendered, humble servant. And he has a firm vow of friendship or favorable spirit towards the spiritual master. Guru Subdaha Sauridaha. So if such is the attitude of brahmacharis in the ashram, that will transform the atmosphere in the ashram. It will become very easy and natural for loving relationships to develop amongst the brahmacharis. Okay? So I think we'll stop here because I think the next class starts at 12 o'clock. Yes? So at least a few minutes break for everybody before the next class begins. And if there's any questions that's left over, there's another session tomorrow. And I'll leave more time for questions. So maybe we can talk about it at that time.